Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 95. 95. We have our guests lined up for 96, 97, 98, 99, and possibly 100. But we are really, really grateful to all of you for listening, to all of our guests, past, present, and future, and to our guest today, who I'll introduce you to in a minute, who is returning. But before I do introduce you to today's guest, I will say hello to the usual hosts and introduce them. Mr. Peter Lantz, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Are you enjoying
nice
this? Are you enjoying the sun and the heat and getting out and walking and everything else? Yeah.
Yep. I only had one session this morning, so we've already been out for a 2-hour walk. Sid's been for a swim in the canal, which he absolutely loves. So he got himself soaked. He looks like a seal when he comes out, which is great. I've got me my Geordie suntan going on, if you can see that. I've even got sock marks as well. So form an orderly queue, ladies.
Do you ever get tempted to jump in the canal as well on a hot day like this, if it's like 30 degrees or something?
Do you know what? Years ago, I was talking about this. This is going to be, I don't know, it's a talking point, but we'll not get into it. But the river around, like the River Avon and then and the canal and everything, you just can't see the bottom. I wouldn't get in it at all. No way. And there's people go wild swimming around here. There's a place called Whalley Weir up the road, and people go swimming around there and stuff like that when it's warm. And most of the people I know who've done it just get ill afterwards, like pretty badly. You know what I mean? Because there's all sorts in there.
Yeah.
And you can't see. You know, it's just brown and horrible. And it never used to be like that. I remember when we were kids, like, you know, you could see through the water and everything. So yeah, it's all a bit weird. Oh. So no, in a word, no. Unless what I might do is get my clients who really want to lose weight down there and just get them to go for a swim in the canal, and then, like, you know, they'll probably lose a few pounds over the next couple of days when they can't move off the bog, if you know what I mean. But anyway, there you go.
There you go. Anyway, as always, we pass over to Mr. Paul Bassett after a comic interlude from Pete. How are you doing? Paul?
Not bad. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm never going to get a tan. I'll just get sunburn. I just go red like a lobster. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. And how are you doing? You've been working hard this week as usual, I take it?
Just insane amount of work. Yeah, just kind of bang, 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 bang. So this is a welcome break.
This is a welcome break. Fantastic.
Yeah.
You saying this isn't work? This is like whoa. We do a lot. We do a lot of stuff for this, you know, as you know, because you do as well. So it's work.
Yeah, I've been dropping the ball recently with some of my stuff, though. I have to admit.
Don't worry about it.
I've been a bit late on delivery of some of things. Apologise.
That's all right. We don't need to do this publicly.
Yeah. I just feel I need to get it off my chest.
It's like a confessional, isn't it? It's like a confessional. We've stumbled on one. Yeah. Okay.
And all that stuff I've said about you, James, I just didn't mean it.
That's why he can't get an all over body tan, because he's been flagellating. So, like, you know, it just hurts.
Self-flagellation, indeed. Right. Well, today we have for episode 95 the return of Chris Zaremba. And what I will do first, we'll say hello, Chris.
Hello, James. Hello, guys.
Cool. I will say this is Chris's second visit with us. And if you are new to the podcast or you haven't been listening through sequentially from episode 1, shame on you, as we always say. I was talking to I was talking to Mr. Graham Harris. I had a catch up with him yesterday, who's was a client of ours, and then went on to work with Dave Whitley, Iron Tamer, after Dave was on, and we had a catch up. And he started from episode 1, and I think he said at the moment he's on about episode 85. So he's working his way through. But if you haven't listened to the first episode that we did with Chris, I would listen to that first. Don't listen to this one. Go back. It's episode number 42. And it's called Fat to Fit Over 50, because in that episode, we really talk about the origin story, kind of the genesis of Chris Zaremba's change, and really tee up what we're going to talk about today. So if you haven't listened to episode 42, stop listening to this one, go back, listen to episode 42, and then come back to episode 95 and listen to this one. And at the start of the podcast, I am going to give a plug to Chris's fantastic book, which is called Fat to Fit Over 50 or At 50 by Chris Zaremba. So I got this book, read it. It's really fantastic. I think I read it, or I was reading it when we spoke to Chris first time round. But it's a really, really inspiring story. And what actually caused me to reach out to Chris just in the last couple of weeks, I was at the SFG2 up in Teesside with Gemma Wesson doing the SFG2, and a number of gentlemen in their 50s. One of them was Tony, the guy you know, Pete. Tony, is it Tony McGonnell or Gonnell or something?
McGonnell. I think that's how you say it. Yeah.
Like a number of people sort of had listened to the podcast and said, "Oh, yeah, listen to the Chris Zaremba episode. I really liked that. It was really interesting." So when I got back, one of the first things I did was kind of message Chris and say, "We always said you'd come back on. Do you want to come back on?" So we are going to continue our conversation almost a year later from the first episode. We're going to have a great show again with Chris now. How are you doing, Chris? You okay?
Yeah, very, very well. I'm still waiting for my check from the first one, by the way. And
it's in the post.
Well, what is this, 10th class mail, is it, or 12th class mail, is it?
There's been like, have you not been around for the last 2 years? There's been lots happening, you know. So
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was pay to play.
Oh,
you're the one sending us the check. It's the only way we keep going is
so
generous contributions from people.
And you're going to say there's no repeat fees now as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm doing very, very well. I'm enjoying the summer. I've just come back from a week's holiday with my gorgeous wife, and left the ugly one behind. And it's a lovely day today. It's all going very well. I've just been to the gym, and after having been to the gym, because I go to the gym every morning between about 7 and 8 to do my morning cardio, my fasted cardio. Then I usually go later on in the day to do some resistance training. Plus, I go with my personal training clients. So actually, even though I'm paying a mortgage on this house, I actually spend more time living in the gym, actually. And luckily, I have a choice of different gyms I go to. But so I think I should probably try and spend more time in the house I'm paying for, really.
Okay. And we spoke, as I mentioned just before we came on air, that over the last, it's nearly 50 episodes ago that you were on. We have, we've mentioned you a number of times over the episodes, and your name comes up kind of every few weeks. And we just checked with you. You're 65 and a half years old now. And you are still so. Well, first of all, tell us about this holiday, because you mentioned to us before we came online. But this is something that obviously, if people haven't listened to the first episode, hopefully they have now, and they've gone and they've come back. When your previous life, before you had this kind of epiphany and massive change, this holiday you've just been on would have been something that you could have never ever probably imagined doing, or would have wanted to do, or physically been able to do. But yeah, tell us about this trip you've just come back from.
Well, it's not just this trip. It's a large number of holidays that I've been on, mainly with Jenny, over the past 10 years or so. Because even though I'm now much, much fitter than I used to be at 50, I haven't changed much in the past 10 years. So when I talk about my fat to fit conversion, we're now talking about something that happened between 15 years ago and 10 years ago. So I haven't actually improved that much or changed that much in the most recent 10 years. However, it's still an interesting story to go from 18 stone in old money to 11 stone in old money, and to go from a body fat of 45% to 12% is good, even if it is not quite as recent as a conversion as it would be. But if I did it in my 60s... I think
it's actually, though, Chris, if I can just say, I think it's actually what you've done. Lots of people lose weight, but not many people keep it off and actually create a brand new lifestyle and sustain it and maintain it. And one of our guests, Tracy Rifkind, calls it rather than maintenance, she calls it permanence. You know, it is your,
Yeah.
you do now have a different life than you had in the past, don't you? So I think even though you know the change happened 10 to 15 years ago, the fact that you've maintained it for the last 10 years is as commendable as the change in the first place, I think.
Totally.
I guess that's a good point. I mean, things that I've done most recently is obviously been a bit of a gap during COVID, and during the lockdown is when I took the time to write the book. A lot of people have told me that I've done so many things in fitness. Is there anything you haven't done? And there's two things I hadn't done. I hadn't written a book, and I haven't opened a gym. Well, I'm not going to open a gym, even though people think I should. We'll come back to that a bit later on if you like.
Don't.
I wouldn't. Yeah, both me and Paul, both Paul and I, as gym owners, are saying, no, don't. Not a 65 years old.
Who out of the three of us presenters looks the most chilled and relaxed here?
Well, no, it wouldn't be a gym for anybody. It would be a gym that would target over 50s. It'll be a franchise chain of fitness over 50 gyms. That I would just be franchising out the idea, and it would be the thing. We'll come back to my holiday in a second, but since we started talking about it, we might as well carry on talking about this. It's the thing that gets me about gyms, and I know that we have gym owners amongst us, is that most gyms really target those people in their 20s and their 30s. Now, those are the people who actually have perhaps less money to spend than those in the 50s and the 60s. They're the ones probably who, generally speaking, have less need to go to the gym. The guys in the 50s and the 60s are the ones who need to preserve their mobility, need to preserve their active lifestyle as they get older into their 70s and beyond. And they've probably got, if they get to 50 or 60, they've probably got more time to go to the gym as well. Then maybe they've retired or something, and they can look at starting to go into the gym when they're 50s. And it differs a lot, I think, in the US. I mean, I go to the US a lot. And in the US, it's not at all unusual to see many guys in their 50s, 60s, 70s and beyond in the weights room of a gym. And that is really rare to see in the UK, but it's not at all rare in the US. Okay, it's rare in the top bodybuilding gyms. You don't see it that often in Gold's in Venice, unless they're well juiced up. But you don't see the average 50, 60, 70-year-old in a gym in the UK, but you do in the US. So I was thinking, just imagine you had a chain of gyms called the Fitness Over 50 gym. I mean, you wouldn't ban people under 50 to join. You couldn't do that. You couldn't do that legally. But they wouldn't want to join because it wouldn't have young person's music playing. We'd have sort of fairly quiet background music rather than dead loud music. We'd have Coldplay and that
Cat
like.
Stevens or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of Manzavani.
Bit of easy listening.
Yeah, a bit of Manzavani and Joe Loss. No, I don't mean that. I mean Coldplay. It's Coldplay, etc. And rather than totally
Radio 2, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So rather than steel and chrome and mirrors everywhere, a few curtains, a couple of pot plants around, maybe a few mirrors too. And because imagine you started up a chain of petrol stations, you're only targeting one particular section of the audience, which happens to be the same section of the audience that the gym down the road is targeting. Because all gyms are targeting 20 to 30-year-olds. There's nobody targeting beyond that. And 50% of the UK adults are over 50. I'll say that again. 50% of UK adults are over 50.
But do you think it's just...
And barely none of them go to a gym. And because
you think it's culture. So go on.
And when people, when they go to the gym, they think that they're trespassing almost and not made to feel welcome. Because the people are all young in there, the staff are usually young, and it's not something that they feel comfortable with. So they'll go and look around and say, no, it's not for me, and they'll walk away, and the gym's lost another customer. So when I say one thing I haven't done in fitness is open a gym, I wouldn't want to open a gym and work as hard as you guys do. I'd want to franchise the idea out, and everybody paid me £10,000 for the idea and the name is what I want to do. And then target all those over 50s that don't go to the gym now, because they turn up to classes. I still do personal training, of course, the over 50s. They're never late. They never forget to come. They don't need constantly entertaining with new exercises. We can look at the same exercise set week after week after week, but we do either one more rep or we move the weights up by one notch each time, so I can see it on the spreadsheet how they're progressing, and they can see it as well. Don't need to be entertained. They're not going to be fitter than me. Also, if I started the gym now, if 20-year-olds come in, they're going to be fitter than me. That's not the idea at all. So I think the idea of a chain of gyms for the over 50s is a good idea. And if anyone wants to buy the idea of a fitness over 50 as a gym, come and see me.
I don't know if they would be fitting you in the 20s, though. That's the thing.
All right, maybe not.
You know? I mean, I think
I'm gonna do it without having to buy it off Chris and do fit over 51.
I'll send you to, if you do that, I'll send you to Area 51, mate, and we'll never see you again.
But I think like America's 10 years ahead in some ways, isn't it? I mean, it's at least 10 years ahead in a lot of cultural things. You know, things like CrossFit had embedded in American fitness culture much before here. And I wonder whether or not, you know, typically people over the age of 50, 55, they've always seen other avenues to spend money on that were maybe more secure and traditional investments, like, you know, spending money on like dentistry or spending money on like holidays and things like that, rather than this rather ephemeral idea of fitness. You know, it wasn't something that parents
we wouldn't be promoting it as an idea of fitness. We're promoting it as an idea of extending your active lifestyle years. So you are active and not reliant on somebody pushing around in a wheelchair into your 80s and your 90s.
Yeah, I think such. I was going to say, Chris. I mean, my place in Chelmsford, the website is very much we are you know, actively you know, over 40s, over 50s, and all the marketing is using real people over 50, and most of our members are over 50. So we actually have a very, and we actively say, you know, we are somewhere for older people to train, and we've signed up quite a few people who come in because, you know, they see the you know, the marketing we put out on the website, and the people on the website are usually in their 50s and 60s and 70s. So I think you're 100% right. I think most people are kind of missing a trick, if you like, but not just from a financial point of view. I actually much prefer working with people who are a bit older for many of the reasons that you said. You know, they're committed, they're punctual, they're consistent, they like routine. You know, they're nice to be around. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s now. They like the same sort of music I like to listen to, you know, and like you say, I prefer, you know, we've got, you know, we mention him a lot on the podcast. Les in his 60s, when he walks through the door, whatever's on, whatever music's playing, gets stopped, and we put on like you know, greatest hits of the 70s, and we have, you know, a bit of everything on there. You know, we have
instead of walking in with a BCAA and a bottle, and that, he's got like a bottle of Horlicks. Is that right? Come on, lads, let's go.
No, but straight away, and lots of people now, because and I said to someone the other day, actually, for Paul's gym, Hounds of Health, Kate Bush has obviously had this massive resurgence now, thanks to Stranger Things. So, you know, we've, you know, got loads of people who like, you know, we have, you know, Fleetwood Mac and The Who and the Stones and, you know, Rod Stewart and the Faces and all these kind of bands playing.
All those young'uns.
I love it. You know, that's the kind of environment I want to be in, you know. And I think
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well done to you, James, and well done for that marketing policy, because I reckon all the other, I mean, I've been to your gym, and all the other gyms around Chelmsford, I mean, everything like the gym and Pure Gym, and they're all chasing the same poor student pounds, which they haven't got much money on anyway. And you're there taking the people who, you know, 50% of the UK adult population is over 50. And if all of those go to your gym in Chelmsford and leave the other new gyms fighting for the poorer younger people, then that's their lookout.
Yeah, and I really do think that it was a conscious decision by us to use, you know, on our website, actually, you know, like I say, real members in their 50s, 60s and 70s. And the guy who joined yesterday came in and said, well, I was searching on Google, and I knew and he's 60, and he said, I was searching on Google looking, and I found your place, and I looked at the website and I read all the testimonials, and I saw the kind of people that you had, and it looked like the type of place for me, you know. So it's just because I think it's not even, like you say, people use this kind of stock imagery on websites and things, which are your kind of typical, you know, 20s and 30s people. And it's just, it is off-putting, I think, to people in their 50s, 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I find that, I mean, I find that with my clients, my personal training clients, saying that I don't train at people's homes. I don't train at my home. I always train in the gym. I've got arrangements with a couple of gyms, one near me in High Wycombe and one in central London, where I can train clients there. They all say, "Well, I'm not sure about going to a gym. Not at my age." And I said, "The first thing you have to do is convince them going to gym is actually allowed." And they think they're going to be self-conscious because people are going to be looking at them. No, they're not going to be looking at you. They're not worried about you. You don't worry about them. They don't worry about you. That's the easy thing about it.
I think the reality is that everyone in there is worried about someone looking at them, and really no one's looking at anyone, are they?
No.
I was going to say, and even for me, right? So I'm 45, and I kind of know what I'm doing, and I still don't like those places. Do you know what I mean? I still wouldn't want to go in and go over to the weight section and do the stuff and all that, because you'd be surrounded by massive blokes and what have you. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not huge, right? So, and that's me. So if you've got someone
just
who
need to show up and do a one-leg squat, Peter.
Yeah,
well,
you just show off then. That'll show them.
That's not what it's about, is it? But like, no, but what I mean is, so someone who hasn't been for ages or doesn't know what they're doing or whatever, or isn't very strong and all that, it must be really, really, like, really intimidating.
It is, yeah. That's the first battle I have to face normally with most guys. I mean, usually I win them over fairly quickly on that one, but that's always something that you wouldn't come up with younger clients.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were actually talking about something else, weren't we? We were talking about the fact that stuff that I do now, because I've been on quite a few long walking and cycling holidays, either with or without Jenny, and probably the one we just come back from, which was just finished last week, is probably the least adventurous of them all, actually. There's a long footpath that goes from the south of France to northwest, top left corner of Spain, Santiago de Compostela. It's called the Camino de Santiago. It's an old religious pilgrim's way, now mainly used as a recreational footpath. And Jenny and I walked the last 120k of that. It's a lot of people spend 3 months over walking the full 1,000 kilometres of it, but we don't have 3 months to spare. And once I've done a walking for a week's holiday, that's not enough, actually. Enough walking for me in 1 week. So we did that. Stayed in a different hotel every night, 15 or 20k a day. And it was lovely. It was brilliant. It's lovely scenery. But a very strange footpath experience. I've never been on a footpath like it before. It's like an urban motorway, because there are people to the front of you overtaking you. You're overtaking other people. The people behind you. You are never alone on this footpath. And the closer and closer you get to the end in Santiago de Compostela, the closer you get to the end, and more people join it. Some people only decide to walk the last 10k or the last 20k. Nobody walks the middle bit or just the first bit. So some people start right in the south of France. But the other fascinating thing about it is nobody walks in the opposite direction. It is the world's only one-way footpath motorway. 2,000 people a day come off the end of it into Santiago and end up at kilometre 0, which is right in front of Santiago Cathedral. And then they usually go to the pilgrims' mass at 12 o'clock if they're religious. A lot of people are religious. I'm not religious, but a lot of people are. And they go to 12 o'clock mass. And 2,000 people a day finish it, and every single one of them walks in the same direction. It's quite a strange experience. But that's something I couldn't have done. The old fat Chris Zaremba couldn't have done that. The old 18-stone Chris Zaremba couldn't have done that. But we've also done things like we've hiked around the Annapurna circuit in Himalayas, obviously pre-COVID. And just before that, we did the Inca Trail, which is walking all the way up to Machu Picchu in Peru, which is another fantastic. I suppose those two probably rather trump going to Spain and doing the last little bit of the Camino de Santiago. But I mean, they're both about a week-long trip. Well, I think a week-long walking is fine, and not massive walking, 15, 20k a day maximum. Yeah. So quite relaxing holiday, really. But your point was that since turning 50, there's so many things I've done that I couldn't possibly have done beforehand. You know, like I've done triathlons. I've done particularly well in them because I'm a lousy swimmer. So I'm always last out of the sea or last out of the pool. But then I have to count on my swimming, my cycling, and my running to make it good. And a few other healthy things like windsurfing I've taken up. I couldn't have done that in the past and stuff like that. So yeah,
What did you do? What did you do before?
I played squash to sort of a moderately good standard until I managed to screw up my Achilles tendon playing squash. So that was a
No,
pop.
but I mean, before you lost all the weight and everything, where did you go on holiday before that? What was your downtime look like?
The downtime was today's downtime is probably 50% in pubs and restaurants. Previous downtime was probably 100% in pubs and restaurants.
Okay.
So I did nothing.
So then when you went on holiday, was it like beach holidays and all that sort of stuff? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or a caravan holiday somewhere in England or Wales. And but we wouldn't do anything active when we got there. We'd just be sort of looking for where the next nearest pub was and so on. I'm one of the not quite a founder member, but one of the early members of CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale. And people often, and I'm a big believer in traditional English, British beer. Yep. And people often ask me how I that coexists with my love of fitness and fitness for other people and fitness for myself. And the answer is it coexists if you look at both things in a realistic level. And for me, I've invented a rule which is mentioned in my book. Actually, it's called the QNQ rule, which means quality, not quantity. And that applies for me for beer or wine or Scotch, whiskey, or I mean, it's not just alcohol. Like bread. Bread is a great QNQ item. I mean, I would much rather have like one small French loaf cooked in a local bakery in France, or we had some in Spain, in fact, craft made, artisanal made. I'd much rather have a small portion of that than like 10 slices of a supermarket white sliced pap, you know. So go for quality, don't go for quantity. And the same thing goes for wine. You know, I'd much rather have one glass of wine which I would sip and enjoy each sip across 20 minutes or so, rather than knocking back 2 or 3 of anything that you can buy for $5 a bottle. Mm. So the QNQ. So how me being a big lover of traditional real ale and fitness live hand in hand is because the QNQ rule, which I imply. So I've if I was to give you a full list of all the foods that I've excluded from my diet, from my regime at any stage, it wouldn't take long, because there's nothing I've excluded. I've just cut down. Even I wouldn't have loads and loads and loads of bars of chocolate. I used to have loads. I think I was Cadbury's best customer when I went on my diet. I think I warned everybody I knew to sell any shares they got left in Cadbury's or Mars, because their sales are going to go down markedly.
Here's a good strategy for you. This is the one I use, right? So if we're going to the pub, because I'm the same as you, I'm not a camera member, even though I've got a beard and everything, but I'm not.
You look like a camera member.
Yeah, but I've got
I'm a camera member.
Oh, yeah. I used to be, but all it was Wetherspoons vouchers. But anyway, here's a good one for you, because like me and Sean go together, and if she has 2 pints, that's it. She's done. So it's brilliant. So that stops me having loads. Because if I wasn't with her and I was with like my mates and stuff like that from back home, say, like, do you want another one? I'd be like, yeah, go on. I can never. It's really hard for me to say no. But if I go with Sean, it's like, I ask her, do you want another one? She's like, well, no, I'm done now. And I'm like, all right, we might as well leave then. So I end up drinking this. It's great.
So to make it into a longer evening, you could start dragging it out. So drink each pint a bit more slowly, and then you can have a longer evening in the pub.
Exactly, man. It's brilliant.
No, this is great, because next weekend we were talking about. You've been talking about walking, obviously, and I know Pete does loads of walking, and we've been talking about older members and drinking as well. We've got our annual walking weekend that we haven't done for the last 2 years because of COVID, and places were shut and things. So we're going to Norfolk to what's it called? Sheringham, I think is where.
I know Sheringham.
Yeah, in Norfolk. So we're going down there next weekend. There's about 25 of us from the gym driving down there on Friday, and I think we're doing about a 6-mile walk on Friday afternoon, and then it'll be a couple of pints and a pub meal, and then on the Saturday we've got a 16-mile walk planned from there.
Is that along the is it the Norfolk coastal path?
I'm not sure. I leave it to Steph and Nikki have kind of arranged the actual walks and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there is a coastal path up that way. Pete's dead right, and it's a nice walk. So yeah, I've done most of that.
Yes, we've got 16 miles on the Saturday, and then, like you say, couple of pints of ale in the evening and a nice steak or something will be spot on. So that'd be great.
Get ready to have some Woodford's Wherry, because there are two pubs I know in Sheringham that serve a fantastic pint of Woodford's Wherry, which is a local Norfolk brew.
He's right, and there's Broadside as well from
Adnams
Brewery's up there as well, isn't it?
Southwold,
Cool. What I was going to ask, Chris, was obviously we spoke about the kind of the walking and the cycling and the triathlons and things like that, and the active holidays. But obviously, when we spoke to you last time, the kind of, I suppose, I don't know if you'd call it the pinnacle of your, transformation, I suppose, was when you've actually been on stage, competing in these kind of physique competitions on stage. And now at 65 years old, I think you mentioned just before we press record that you're eyeing a comeback to the stage. Is that right?
I am. It's probably a ludicrous thing to do at the age of 65, but yes, I am thinking about doing a comeback. My excuse was I was going to do it when I was 62, but COVID got in the way. So I've competed in 9 different fitness modelling or muscle modelling or physique contests. So in the US, they're just called physique contests. In the UK, they tend to have two separate divisions of fitness modelling, or beach body type thing, and muscle model. So muscle model kind of fits halfway between fitness modelling and bodybuilding. I mean, I don't go into bodybuilding or anything like that. I mean, I don't like the look. I think it's just too weird, the overall look. And on the bodybuilding stage, you've got to wear extremely small trunks, whereas in fitness modelling you get away with it much longer. And then in American physique, it's board shorts, which is a bit nicer. So I say, and the muscles are smaller, therefore more easily attainable. So people ask what the difference is between physique or fitness modelling and bodybuilding is the trunks are bigger and the smiles are bigger too. Because you're not grimacing quite so much in terms of doing it. So you're looking for a beach body type physique. And it's something that I got into 10 years ago now with the first one, when the guy that was my very first personal trainer and that became a great mate and is actually a well-known person globally in fitness called Rob Riches, who's a great mate of mine. And Rob suggested that I should get into it. It was Rob who got me into fitness. It got me into the gym in the first place. It didn't get me into losing weight. I managed to lose a lot of weight on my own, but it was Rob who pointed out that I was losing weight by both losing body fat and losing muscle. He says, Chris, it's great you've lost all these pounds in weight, but you've lost muscle as well as fat. So you are becoming a weakling. This is not what you want to do as you head into your mid-50s and your 60s. You don't want to get weaker and weaker and weaker. You want to get lighter, but not weaker. So it was Rob who introduced me into the concepts of actually going into the gym to do something other than cardio, to actually go to the gym and do some resistance training, and also to start focusing on the different way of eating, where I concentrated a bit more on upping the protein rather than just cutting down on everything. So Rob got me into my first ever fitness modelling contest, and I did well at that. And then I was kind of hooked, really. I thought, I'll do one. I'll never do another one. Just one will do. And I did one, and I enjoyed it so much. I'll do a second one. And then something called the British Championships came up, and I thought, oh well, yeah, I might as well do the British Championships. So I'll do that. So I did that, and I won that one. Oh, these are all, by the way, in the over 50s age group, either over 50s or over 45s. Different federations of over 50s, and others have over 45s. So I won the British Championship, and then they said, well, you can get next April we have the World Championship. So I thought, where's that going to be? World Championship is going to be somewhere exotic. It's going to be in Miami or Hawaii, maybe. Yes, it's in St. Albans. Right, okay. So to the exotic arena of St. Albans for the World Championship I go, and I actually picked up the World Championship fitness model for the over 50s. And I have to point out, that was when I was 55, 10 years ago. And I'm still the reigning champion because they've now cancelled the over 50s category, probably because I used to win it all the time. So don't do over 50s anymore. So I'm still the reigning over 50s world champion fitness model.
I was going to ask, do they do, because I know you mentioned, I think when we spoke last, that you would be in the over 50s if you're doing some of these competitions. And, you might have been, 58, 59, 60, even early 60s.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of federation that has an over 60s, or would the kind of the competitors, there'd be so few that it wouldn't be worth them having a category of over 60s, or?
There'd be very few in the UK and in Europe. In the US, they do. So in fact, the final contest, or the most recent contest I've done, which is 4 years ago now, was Mr. Muscle Beach in Los Angeles, where they actually have an over 60s and an over 70s as well. But they are bodybuilding categories, not fitness models.
Okay.
And I mean, a bodybuilder guy with sort of overly inflated, steroid-assisted muscles at over 70. It's not a good look, I would say. So that's not where I'm going.
Yeah. So what are you eyeing for this 10th competition, this comeback? Where have you got a competition in mind?
Yeah, it's Muscle Beach again, because I love the vibe doing it at Muscle Beach. It's done in the open air, which is nice, usually sunny. And people can just stroll in and sit in the stands, or the bleachers as they're called, to watch. There's no entrance charge, so people come and go during the course of the day, which is very good. And it's much more enjoyable. I'd be in the over 45s, and last time we competed at 62, I came 5th out of 7 in the over 45s. So, but everybody else was in their 40s. So there wasn't anybody in their 50s, certainly nobody in their 60s. So to come 5th out of 7 when everybody else is in their 40s isn't too bad.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And then to compete, so would that be next year you'd be looking to compete?
Yeah.
So 2023. Okay.
Yeah, May. Yes, September 20. May 2023. The last Monday. The last Monday in May. It's Labor Day, which is a US national holiday. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm doing it because I tend to nice round numbers to finish on. What was going to be 2 years ago anyway. And I'm also doing it because a friend of mine is very, very keen to do it and doesn't want to, who lives in the UK, and he doesn't actually want to go and do it all on his own, get all the prep and much rather do it with a mate. So I'm going over with him for the final. We're going to have a 2-week final prep, just me and him. We're going to get an Airbnb or something for 2 weeks and virtually live in Gold's Gym for those 2 weeks, and the firehouse outside for decent food. And we'll do that for 2 weeks. Then just before the contest, my wife and his wife both fly over, so that they come over the day before the contest. So for the day of the contest, there'll be 4 of us, and then after the contest we split up. Me and my wife go on some holiday somewhere else. For them, probably go walking in the Rockies or something, and him and his wife go somewhere. Unless we have a big fall up, in which case I'll go with him.
how close to competition?
Or even with
ready?
his missus. Imagine that.
Could swap over. Yeah.
How close to competition ready are you?
A long way, but it doesn't take me long to get into shape, because I'm about I'd say probably about 12 pounds above my competition weight, but I can lose that quite easily. I'm lucky because I never really go too much out of shape. I mean, I go to the gym usually twice a day, every day, unless I'm on a holiday somewhere or I've got some business trips planned. I'll go to the gym twice a day, every day. I always do. In the morning, I either do 40 minutes of cross trainer, or half an hour running, or half an hour of high intensity intervals, which I particularly love doing high intensity intervals, because I love the free calorie burn you get from that when your heart rate's elevated in those intervals, but you're not doing the work for it, so you get a bit of free calorie burn there. So I do that in the morning, and I always do abs first thing in the morning as well, straight after the cardio. And then after a few hours, so I've done that this morning, and then a few hours later on the day, I'll do a weights workout, resistance training workout, which is, I've got 5 different workouts that I do in A, B, C, D, E, is what they are. Here's a game for you, boys and girls. My weights workouts are called, it's called the ABC 7 system. And it's called the ABC 7 system because the workouts begin with A, B, C, D, and E. And it's 7 because there's 7 exercises in each workout. There's 7 exercises in the A workout, 7 in the B workout, 7 in C, and so on. So what do you think A, B, C, D, and E stand for? I'll give you a clue. It's to cover the entire body parts, apart from abs, which I do with cardio.
Arms.
Correct. Well done. Buys and tries together, yes.
Back.
Bum.
Bum.
Back and bum, yeah.
Back.
Yeah, back and bum. Yeah, back. We'll go on to James. Back, yeah.
Chest.
Easy.
Delts. Shoulders.
Delts. Yeah, very good.
E.
Yeah.
Eccentric movements.
What haven't we done?
I think this is like elevators, or it's legs, isn't it?
It's legs, it's elevators, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, you have read the book. Well done.
That's because I've got the book. I've got the book, you see. Yeah.
It's legs. It's legs, which I've renamed elevators. I thought about renaming them Elgs by just changing the first two letters around. So I just wanted A, B, C, D, E. So legs has to be elevators for it. Yeah. So and then later on in the day I'll do one of the A, B, C, D, E workouts, whichever one I haven't done most recently.
Yeah. So you just cycle those through. You just cycle those through. You do A, B, C, D, E, and then start again A, B, C, D, E. And
I used to think, well, let's do back one day, then chest one day, then do legs, then do arms and delts. But I haven't spotted any difference to that, so I'll just keep cycling through A, B, C, D, E. If I don't go to the gym for one day, obviously I don't go to the gym every day, going away to places, things like that. Then I'll just resume where I left off. So if I'd done arms on Monday, say, and back on Tuesday, but I don't go to the gym on Wednesday, then I don't say, oh, I'm going to miss off chest because Wednesday is chest. No, I just do chest on the next day, on Thursday.
Yeah. So what do you think in terms of will you actually, when you step on stage next May, will you be 66 then?
I will be just turned 66, yes.
Yeah, you'll be 66 then. So do you see, is your prep going to be any different than it has been previously? Do you notice your body changing, or is it getting harder to get as lean as you get older, or do you not really notice that? You just follow your system, you plug it in, and well, when it's time to get serious and I'm 16 weeks out or 12 weeks out, I know what I'm going to do, and by the time I get on stage, I'm going to be where I want to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, I tend to get serious sort of 10 to 12 weeks out, basically, and then I the QNQ rule becomes QNQ squared. It has to be really high quality to be worth it. It's the quality, not quantity rule. So about 10 to 12 weeks out, and I'll tend to even turn down invitations to a beer festival in those 5 or 10 to 12 weeks, which is very hard for me to do, but I will do. I'll keep up the protein. People say to me, do you take any supplements? I say, well, I have protein shake all the time. I have one with my breakfast after my cardio, and one after my weights workout. But I don't call protein a supplement, protein powder, because to me it's got calories in it. Therefore, it's basic nutrition. It's not a supplement. A supplement is a supplement on top of nutrition. So to me, the protein shakes are nutrition or supplement. But I have in the past experimented with 2 or 3 different things. You mentioned BCAAs and creatine before. So I've done a sort of, before going on stage, having some BCAAs for the last sort of 6 weeks or so, and did so for creatine as well. And I have to say, I'm not sure I noticed any difference. I'm not sure.
I don't notice any difference.
No, I'm not sure it made any difference to me at all. It just cost money. It was more for me to.
Chris, this is called the acronym hammer.
Right.
So I'm holding up the acronym hammer for our listeners. I know what they are, but what are BCAAs? Oh,
okay. It's a type of protein that comes in either in the packet, in powder, or in tablets. It's called branched chain amino acids. Amino acids being the building blocks of protein, which is a phrase that everybody uses. Everybody says that, which is fundamental for the regeneration, rebuilding of muscle and other things like hair and nail and stuff like that, and skin.
So you say you've used those before, but not really noticed the kind of
exactly
difference. Yeah,
exactly. I didn't notice any difference with them, and I thought, for all the faff of doing it, I'm not going to bother. So. I mean, I make sure that I keep a close tab on my diet. I make sure that I find that I don't lose muscle at all if I'm starting off 10 to 12 weeks out with my normal amount of muscle, then I can lose easily 5 or 6 pounds of fat without losing muscle by keeping my workout. So I don't actually change my workout structure at all, because I probably have fewer off days I skip the gym, I guess, but. It's not a structural change. I still do my ABCDE workouts, because each one of those has got 7 different exercises for the body part, and each of those 7 exercises has got 3 different alternates. Usually there's 1 free weights, 1 cable, and 1 with a machine, usually. And I can cycle between those as well. So this is all on spreadsheets, which I use a lot. And so I don't change that. And I've got lots and lots of variation within that. And I do 3 sets of 10 of each exercise. So there's quite a lot of stuff goes on in each of those. So to do those every day and try to progress all the time. One thing I have noticed is that the overall maximum weight I can lift has not increased. I mean, I've never been mega strong since I didn't really lift up a weight until I was over 50. So, for example, if I was doing a dumbbell bench press, for example, the maximum I've ever done is 34k dumbbells, and I'm now doing 30k. So I've lost a bit of edge off that, I suppose. And sort of single arm dumbbell curl on a preacher bench for a single arm bicep curl. I'm now doing 18k on an arm. Yeah, I used to do 20k. So I suppose I've lost a bit. But I mean, those aren't huge numbers, and they're not designed to impress, really. It's sort of like. But
it's not a strongman competition, is it? It's not trying to lift the most weight you can physically lift. It's trying to elicit, that hypertrophy and build and maintain and hold on to muscle, isn't it? So it's more about working the muscle for a full range of motion and doing the technique properly and slowly and controlled and all the rest of it. So
I think that works. Anyone over 50. I mean, I've got a 68-year-old client who I train just outside. He trains on his own in his home, or he trains in the gym. And, we never go with heavy weights. It's just, it's not advantageous to his progression. His recovery is not as good when he goes too heavy. But I mean, he can do chin-ups. He can do loads of things. He's got very strong. It's just we never need to go that heavy. He's just super. Like you said, with generally people over 50, they are more focused mentally and they are more consistent. And he's just keeps showing up, doing the work, and he never has to push into that red zone. But he just does the work, and it's showing.
Yeah. So I mean, my system for me has not changed in 12 years. So because it works for me, and I don't need the innovation. I don't need to be entertained by doing something new. Basically, I've got lots of variation in it. So for every exercise, I've got, as I say, usually a cable and a resistance machine and a free weight variant. So I'll cycle around those on different days.
Would you not say your variety though, say, is being able to go walking and cycling?
Yeah.
And do, this is the thing, it enables you to do that. Because I was talking about this the other day, and people say variety is the spice of life and all that. And people then think, oh, so I need variety in everything. It's like, no, it's the spice. If you put too much spice in anything, it ruins it. So,
That's
little
true.
bit of variety here and there, but it is the same thing. It's the same things over and over and over again, isn't it? And then done progressively. But that, if you're only doing that for like an hour or so a day, it gives you the rest of your time to do everything else. So that's the way I look at it.
And I've got very much into running. I'm not the world's quickest runner by any estimation, even at my age, but I love doing park run. Anybody here do park run?
No, but I've got lots of members who do, because we've got the Chelmsford one is literally 5 minutes away from the gym. So we've got members who kind of park at the gym and walk down there on a Saturday morning and do it. Yeah. So I have done it before, but not I'm usually working, so not regularly, no.
Yeah. So
you clamp them for that.
What's that?
You clamp them for that.
What,
parking outside the gym and then going somewhere else.
No. Yeah, so sorry, Chris. So park run, because I think you've travelled around and been a park run tourist, have you?
I'm a park run tourist extraordinaire, I think to say, yes. So whenever Jenny and I go anywhere to stay or visit, we always organise it around a park run. I mean, you mentioned you're going to Norfolk next weekend. If you're going to Norfolk this weekend, are you starting tomorrow? Then I'd see you there, because we're going to visit some friends near Hunstanton. And one of the reasons we're staying there is because it's quite near the King's Lynn Park Run. So actually go to places just to be near park runs. So we'll plan that around where we go. But again, being able to run a sort of a 5K in 25 minutes is not something that I could have done, even considered doing. I mean, I couldn't even run to catch a bus, to use an old phrase. But imagining my old self trying to run around a park run course without stopping for a breather every 10 yards, it's quite hard to imagine.
Chris, what I think would be quite interesting and quite helpful for people is to know what a typical day would look like for you when you decide that, say, 12 weeks out, you're gonna actively gonna be pursuing more leanness for the competition and things. What would a typical day look like for you, including, because I know you mentioned, fasted cardio in the morning that you do about sort of 40 minutes and stuff. But then in terms of, your meals and how you structure things, and you do your strength training in the afternoon, but in terms of, your timing for meals and things like that, what does that look like?
Right. Well, I'm a big fan, but both in contest prep time and in other times as well, is to eat at 4-hourly intervals. So I normally have breakfast around about 8 o'clock in the morning. Then I'll have lunch at 12, give or take. Then an mid-afternoon snack, or I don't know the word snack, mid-afternoon meal at about 4 p.m. and final meal at 8 p.m. And that gives me then a 12-hour overnight fast as well. So I'm a big fan of 12 hours on, 12 hours off eating. I know some people like 16 hours off, and I found it just too hard going. But I would not eat typically anything after 8 p.m. Until 8 the next morning. Now, when I'm in contest prep, if somebody says fancy going for a beer at 10 o'clock at night, I would say no. But if it's not contest prep and they do say that, I'd say yes. So I'd stick to my own rules more rigidly, is what I would do in contest prep time. I find eating at 4-hourly intervals is perfect for me, because I do keep a kind of a tab on my calories using MyFitnessPal, and I like to eat about 2,000 calories a day, and I work out that I burn up around somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 a day. So that puts me into a sort of an average ever so slight deficit, which is what I seem to need to keep myself in trim. Although I've got a few pounds to lose at the moment. And I mean, I divide that by 500 calories for breakfast, 500 for lunch, 500 for dinner. And I'll typically have just 300 for the 4 p.m. meal. I'll keep 200 in reserve in case somebody drags me for a pint somewhere. And that makes 2,000 calories. And I would, in contest prep time, I would probably make all those meals just a little bit smaller, and I probably wouldn't even have good quality bread. I'd probably give that a miss out as well. I just turn up. The phrase I use is turn up the dial. I'll turn up the dial on the nutrition by being just a little bit more precise on my guidelines, and turn the guidelines into rules for that 8 to 10 week period, or 10 to 12 week period. I wouldn't really change my exercise that much, because I actually do a third session every day as well, by the way. I do a third session around about 10 at night, believe it or not, which is stretching and mobility work, because I was at the back of the queue when people were giving out hamstrings and shoulder flexibility things. So I've got the flexibility of an arthritic ironing board, rusty ironing board as that. So I do half an hour of stretching and mobility while Hugh Edwards is on telly. So I've heard a lot about the Ukraine war. I've heard a lot about Boris, but I haven't seen any of it, because I've usually been doing the stretching at the same time as I'm listening to the news.
Well, Hugh, if you don't know what Hugh Edwards looks like, he looks like Jack D, basically reading the news, as far as I'm concerned. just to let you know.
Yeah, but even more miserable, I guess.
So you do your kind of your fasted kind of 30 to 40 minutes cardio first thing in the morning. You'd normally do that at what, kind of 6:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 6:30 to 7 o'clock. Yeah, and that's after a couple of cups of coffee to get the heart rate pumping, to get the caffeine level up. And I would do that. I do that 5 days a week. I don't do it on Sundays, and Saturdays is park run, so I don't do it then. But I would do that 2 cups of coffee to start off with, drink the second one in the car on the way to the gym, and do my cardio, which is either, as I say, 40 minutes cross trainer, or 30 minutes running, or 30 minutes high intensity. And that wouldn't change in the contest prep. Then come back home, do some home stuff, which you kind of have to do, like home admin type stuff, or stay with the gym if I've got clients coming in. So I might have to move to London, because the gym in London I do clients at as well. So I might go to London. I try very hard to focus all my London clients on the same couple of days of the week, so I don't have to travel to London that often. So not wrong with the travel, just it's not very efficient on time to spend an hour travelling each way on the train. multiple times per week. And then for lunch, I mean, it's very standard, to be honest. It's grilled chicken, it'll be grilled salmon, it'll be broccoli, it could be rocket with it, it could be a sweet potato. I mean, I haven't been very inventive in terms of my contest prep meals, but it'll be about 500 calories for lunch. Sorry, I didn't say about breakfast. So I come back from my cardio, and I'll be home by about 8 o'clock, maybe 8:15. After showering and taking a cup of coffee to my wife in bed, who was still in bed at this time, I might add. I know, isn't it terrible? Isn't it terrible? So I take a cup of coffee, and then we have breakfast. And my breakfast is totally standard. It hasn't changed in 10, 12, 15 years. I have what I call the power breakfast. The recipe is in the book. Power breakfast is 65 grams of oats, mixed with some nearly boiling water. I don't put them in the microwave to soften them up. I don't soak them to soften them up. They're still quite rough by the time I eat them, which is quite good because it takes more effort for the body to grind them down and to absorb them into the system, to digest them. With the oats, I've got some berries, blueberries, blackberries, or raspberries, any two of the above, and mixed nuts as well for some nice fats to go in with that. And that's got my carbs base covered with slow carbs with the oats and the fast carbs with the berries. Not very many berries, but there you go. And some fats with the nuts. The thing we're missing is a protein. So what I also have with my breakfast, and it also takes it up to the 500 calorie mark, is I have 2-scoop protein shake, which I mix with water, and it's always chocolate shake. Okay, so there are two great fitness questions as well that don't have an answer. I'll come to that in a second. But one has to do with protein shake. So I give a chocolate shake. I got a pint, put it into a pint pot. Bit like this one here, nicked from some beer festival somewhere. Where's this one from? Oh, this one's from the Great British Beer Festival 2004. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
You haven't smashed it yet. That's amazing.
It is, isn't it? Also, the beer's looking a bit off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, might need to replace that.
So I have a pint of protein shake, being 2 scoops, topped up with water. But what I do, and this is what the French call the piece of resistance. They call it that because the English people call it pièce de résistance. So the French must call it piece of resistance. What I do is I take the top. Thanks for laughing. I take the top inch. I take the top inch of the protein shake off here. So I take that much of here and pour that onto the oats and stir that into the oats. And it makes all the oats taste chocolatey, which is fantastic. So I have chocolatey flavoured, nice warm oats with nuts and berries and protein shake as well. And that's my I call it my power breakfast. It's 540 calories. Have it every day. Have had every day for the past 15 years, except if we're staying in a hotel or whatever. So the two big fitness questions, which are both very, very hard to answer. One fitness question is, how can I lose fat and gain muscle at the same time? And the second big question, why do they make protein shake in flavours other than chocolate? So neither of those questions has a really satisfactory answer. Lots of people have got opinions on both of them, but for me, chocolate is the only flavour shake going.
Okay. And what I was going to say as well was, Chris, so how much water do you have any kind of, like you said, you have guidelines, then you have rules.
Yes.
What's your kind of do you measure how much water you drink in a day? Do you have an idea of how much you try and have each day? Or
and it's the same pre-contest and outside that time. Although I will deplete a little bit towards the contest itself. I tried diuretics once as well. Didn't like it at all. Didn't help me at all. Made my brain go all fuzzy, even fuzzier than usual, I should say. So on water. I have yet another pint pot nicked from some beer festival somewhere, which I fill up with water at 9 in the morning, and I gradually sip it over 3 hours till 12 o'clock. Then top it up again, or fill it up again, and do the same for 3 hours, and do it again at 3 till 6. So I have 3 pints of water a day. I have a pint pot. I have my 9 till 12 pint, my 12 till 3 pint, and my 3 till 6. So if it gets to the final time, and the water's not all gone, then I neck what's left in the pint pot and top it up for the next one. I don't do anything after 6 o'clock, only on the basis that I don't really want to be getting up in the middle of the night peeing all the time. So I stopped drinking water about 6.
And then I suppose you also have a pint of water making up your protein shake with breakfast, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a pint in the breakfast, and it's not a pint of protein shake when I come back from my afternoon workout as well.
Okay.
And that's figured into the calculations for calories. So the breakfast calories is about 340 without the protein shake. The 200 is protein shake on top, and that 200 is a substantial part of the afternoon snack, which is typically when I come back from my afternoon gym trip. And so, just concluding my sort of pre-contest nutrition. I did experiment with taking mega doses of vitamin C as well for 1 year. Again, didn't make me feel better. Maybe I didn't get a cold. That's true. I was on about 8 grams a day for the final 2 weeks. But I'd read it somewhere, or somebody told me it's a great thing to do, so I thought I tried it. It didn't turn me orange. I thought it might, but it didn't. I didn't get a cold. That's for certain. But I don't think it made any difference, to be honest. But certainly cutting down on. I mean, I don't eat much crap anyway, as you can tell. I mean, I'm selective about the stuff like the beer and the bread and I don't have desserts very often. But I'm just more selective. I just turn up the dial. Turn up the dial is the phrase.
And what in terms of sleep? Do you have a guideline or a rule around your sleep? Do you try and get 7 hours a night? What's your sleeping like?
Well, Jenny and I usually head for bed not too long after my Hugh Edwards stretching session. So about 10:30 onwards is bedtime typically. So Jenny sleeps well. So as you know, she's still sleeping away while I'm busy on the cross trainer. So it works out to about 7 hours a night. Yeah. So yeah, and that doesn't change either. I mean, people have sometimes asked me if I've ever tried performance-enhancing drugs in any shape or form, and the answer is no, I haven't. I think probably for 3 reasons. I mean, first of all, it does seem like cheating if you're doing that. I mean, you're making the muscles look bigger, you're making the fat disappear artificially without having done the work for it. So that feels like cheating. Secondly, I actually do this fitness stuff for health reasons. I don't actually do it to make myself unhealthy. And I think performance-enhancing drugs, anything beyond what you can buy at Boots or Holland & Barrett, anything beyond that is stuff that is not going to help you live longer. And there are countless stories of people who've tried steroids or excess testosterone and so on, and have lived to tell the tale, or maybe they haven't lived to tell the tale. So no, I do it to get healthy. I don't do it to get less healthy. And thirdly, I just couldn't cope with all the admin, trying to order the right stuff and checking it was okay, and I couldn't live with all that. So I've never tried it, and never would.
You'd need another spreadsheet, wouldn't you, about when you were injecting what and when you were taking what and everything.
Exactly.
I was going to say, you've just said you couldn't be bothered with the admin. I mean, you're an admin junkie, as far as I'm going to say.
I am. You should see my parkrun admin. You should see parkrun spreadsheets. I'm in all sorts of challenge competitions, like going to all the parkruns that begin with a prime number, for example, and so like Chelmsford parkrun number 399 wouldn't be a parkrun, wouldn't be a prime number, but 401 would be. So I'll go to that, for example. So that's on spreadsheets. There's competitions of galore for it, but that's a subject for a different podcast. I suppose the biggest one I have is my weights and body fats spreadsheet, which I have been doing daily since I got on the diet, actually. So since I was 50. Yeah. So I'm maybe not. I'm on row about 5,200 of the spreadsheet now. So
there's a bit of a lesson there, though, isn't there? You've got to track. You've got to bring your attention to something if you want to be good at it. Most people don't. Most people don't know what's happening, what they're going to eat. They don't know what they've eaten before. They don't know when they're going to train, and then they wonder why they have a completely and utterly random result. And I suppose a lot of what I'm doing with my clients is just trying to get them to systemize one aspect, even if, whether it's the food, whether it's just showing up to classes, whatever it is just in some way have some kind of record and some kind of tracking. I mean, we do a lot of that for our clients anyway, because that's part of why they pay us, really. But you've got to do it, and it seems like you've just been super consistent at it.
I guess I have. One of my quotes, James, you might want to quickly look at page 343 and 344 of the book. That's my list of favourite fitness quotes. And one of those, which you just come to, Paul, actually, was, if you can measure it, you can improve on it. So if you can track it, then you know where you are. If you don't track it, you don't know where you are. So if you can measure it, you can improve it.
So many people don't want to track or don't want to measure because they're scared of what it tells them. But really, it's just a number, isn't it? I mean, the number may not be what they want, but without that number or without that information, you set yourself up to failure in a way, because you can never really truly measure success.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, any goal in any aspect of life, I think, needs to be written down, because another one of my quotes is, "What gets written gets done." If it's not written down, it's hard to achieve it. It's a bit like you can't score a goal if you don't know where the goalposts are. So it's got to be written down for you to achieve it. Oh yeah, I'm achieving something. What are you setting out to achieve? Well, I want to get a bit fitter. But to say, no, these are my objectives. I want to be able to go back to dumbbells at 34k. I want to go back to 10% body fat. These are specific goals. So I mean, if it gets written, it gets done, and if it can be measured, then it can be improved upon.
Brilliant. I think that's a great place to start to wrap up, Chris. That was a really good catching up with you again, and we've obviously delved a lot deeper into the prep sort of side of things, and also some of the lifestyle things that you've been able to do and make a part of your lifestyle following your kind of transformation about 15 years ago, which is great. So once again, I will just give the book a plug, Fat to Fit at 50 by Chris Zaremba. And Chris, if people want to buy the book, want to follow you, maybe want to access some of your other programs, or just follow what you do, what's the best way for people to do that?
Well, the book is available on Amazon. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Amazon, but as a company, but they are very, very good for startup authors like me, especially authors who only got one book in them, like I have, and it's done now. So I don't need to work with a publisher. So it's published by Amazon on their print-on-demand method. So in other words, Amazon have not printed tens of thousands of my books. It's only printed when somebody buys one. When somebody buys one, they print it and they put it in the post that day. So they're geared up for that. So it's on Amazon. It's called Fat to Fit at 50 by me. It's Chris Zaremba. It's Chris and then Zaremba. And things like the other courses I have the ABC 7 course, which I've mentioned to you, which is the workout that I've been using for the past 12 years or more. That's also documented in both in the book, but it's also just available on its own, and that's on my Fit Phase microsite. There's a company called Fit Phase that does. You've probably come across Fit Phase to book personal trainers and personal trainers products, and if you can actually find that from bit.ly.com, bity.com/ChrisPT, Chris P less P less T, and that's what goes to that Fit Phase site where you can see all those things on there. So thanks very much.
And you're also on Instagram, aren't you?
Yeah, Instagram. Yeah, chris.zaremba.fitness. I tend not to use Facebook and Twitter, and I'm a bit too old for TikTok. And I'm terrible at social media. I know social media is really important in promoting your fitness personality and getting more clients, getting more interest in you. But I've had enough of it, really. So I do Instagram. I'll post stuff on Instagram occasionally, but apart from that, I tend to do very little. I've got a little. I tick the box on Instagram that when I post it, it automatically reposts it to Twitter and repost it to Facebook. But apart from that, I don't use those other channels.
Excellent. And it was really good actually talking about the importance of tracking and measuring, because next week we've got Owen Hutchins coming back on from My Vital Metrics. I don't know, have you ever had a DEXA scan done, Chris?
I haven't, no. I've been meaning to have one.
Okay, because Owen...
Well, James knows a man.
Yeah, we know a man who's coming on next week. So his name's Owen Hutchins, My Vital Metrics. He's based on just outside Liverpool Street Station, really, in London. And does, we had him on before when he talked about kind of the more the health markers that he does. So he does DEXA scans, but he also does resting metabolic rates, does VO2 max testing and certain performance tests for athletes as well. But it's a private clinic. So I think when he's on with us next week, he's going to be talking about some of the other types of tests that he does. But what I'll do, Chris, I'll ping you a code if you do want to book in a DEXA scan with him. He's great. Quite a few of my members have been to see him, and that's really interesting to get the proper, bone density and body fat percentage and muscle density on the real kind of highest grade equipment that you can is really good. So we've got Owen with us next week again, so that'll be really good.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, I'll just use Tanita scales, to be honest, for body fat, which I think are very, very inaccurate. But I think they are accurate compared to themselves from the previous reading. So in other words, if it shows your body fat has gone down, say from 12.1 to 12%, I do believe your body fat has gone down, but I don't think it was 12.1 or 12%. But I do believe that if it's showing a smaller number, then that smaller number is definitely applicable.
Yeah. Owen talked about that a lot on his previous one, and he said, they are good for tracking a trend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're matched against the DEXA, the way they work things out. So they do certainly track a trend. And if you're weighing or measuring on the same time of day every week or same time of day every day, then you are going to track a trend, which is brilliant. Okay,
good
thanks
stuff.
so much, Chris. It's been really, really good to catch up with you. And like I say, we are closing in on our 100th episode. Next week, we've got Owen Hutchins back on from My Vital Metrics. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're listening on a platform that allows you to leave a review. And if you'd like to come into the Facebook group, just go on Facebook, search groups, Health Oddity, and we will let you in there. We will see you next week. Thanks so much, Chris. I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a beer festival somewhere.
Maybe at Chelmsford Beer. There's not one this year. The Chelmsford one, they're not doing it, but beer festival definitely. And
on the next time we're in Chelmsford, I'll come along and come and visit the gym.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be great. And thank you, Peter. Thank you, Paul.
Hurrah!
They're waving.
Thanks, Chris.
They're waving.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
And we will see you all again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.